We have a very busy, very social full moon in Gemini that may give you the courage to take an action or to speak your truth and may be more helpful for long-term plans and strategies than initially appears and can be a really big turning point for some of you as well as it squares the north and south node. I'm Alexander Creek, astrologer and intuitive. Welcome back and welcome to this full moon in Gemini forecast. We're going to be discussing the energy of this full moon as well as a reading for each of the 12 rising signs. So you can find your signs forecast in the the timestamps on the audio version, or you can just click the chapters on YouTube to jump right to your forecast. But make sure you listen to that general forecast first before doing so. So before we get started, I am booking 2026 year ahead readings. I only offer these at a discount once per year. So this is a time. If you are looking for a personalized cosmic roadmap of the year ahead, book with me. I highly recommend it. Together, we take a look at your birth chart and using specialized tools in astrology, such as transits, looking at the aspects the planets are making in the sky to your birth chart in 2026, looking at profections, perfections are a timing technique that tells us kind of what areas of life and what parts of your chart are going to be really, really active that year. We look at your secondary progressions. We look at your solar return. All of these fun tools come into play, as well as a bit of numerology to give you a really, really good look at the themes, the opportunities, as well as challenges that the next year might pose, along with an action plan. And my sessions so far have been really, really powerful, really, really fun. And it's also validating on where you are now and where you have been as well. So I do offer these as live sessions via Zoom. I do send you a recording of it afterward. I'm also going to try recordings as well. So if you cannot find a time to book with me live, a recording might be a really good option. So I'll send you a recording of your reading as well as a brief outline of the stuff that I talk about in the reading. So if you're interested in those 2026 year ahead sessions, they're available through December, and then it'll go back up to its normal price after that. So just check out my website, darkstororacle.com/2026. The link will be in the show notes and on the audio version, as well as the notes on YouTube. So let's go ahead and get to that forecast. Okay, let's go ahead and share this full moon forecast screen so you can see it if you're watching on YouTube. So this full moon arrives at 4:13 p.m. Denver time, United States, on Thursday, December 4th, right at about 13 degrees of Gemini. Gemini, it is going to be a more social, more busy, lively energy. Gemini can symbolize like kind of quick trips and short distance travel, like get togethers. Gemini is a very social sign. It's about conversation and sharing ideas. And just, it's like a very busy, lively, buzzy kind of energy. This definitely is going to stimulate the mind also too. So, this is kind of a full moon where, one of those full moons where I'm like, it's sort of like maybe not getting a full night of sleep around the full moon, just because, your head just might be sort of full of ideas, or it's like a conversation that sort of goes late into the night. Like it just feels like a lot of activity around this full moon, a lot of conversations, a lot of going back and forth and visiting people. And like it's just like I'm doing errands and running around, or I have lots of ideas that I really want to take action and follow through on during this full moon. So and the closest planetary aspect besides the square to the nodes that we'll talk about in a second is this opposition to Mars. It is a bit wide, meaning that it's a little under 10 degrees away from Mars, but that is the next planet that the moon is going to be making an aspect to. So it's going to slide up to the aspect to Mars. So, Mars, it's opposing Mars and Sagittarius. And I do think this sort of adds more spontaneity, but also more heat, courage, and bravery to this full moon. Sagittarius is, and we'll have like 3 points in Sagittarius. We'll have the Sun, Mars, and Venus in Sagittarius during this full moon. And Sagittarius is, I think, kind of known for like a blunt, sort of honest truth and speaking its truth, standing up for its ideals. And so this could definitely kind of give you the courage to speak your mind, or to just sort of try something sort of spontaneous. It's sort of kind of giving like, here's what I really think about this. This is kind of like people giving their hot take kind of full moon, as if we don't have enough people doing that already. I don't need to hear everyone's hot take, to be honest. This also kind of is giving to like a little bit of foot and mouth, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or shouldn't have sort of overshared. It's kind of giving like oversharing a little bit. This also, because this full moon is opposing Mars, this kind of feels like, hey, I've been thinking, I've had this idea for a while. It's finally time I just try it and see I just try it and see what happens. I pull the trigger. I'm just going to try it and sort of just see what happens here. Just because Mars is how you take action, it's heat, it's passion, it's also conflict, but it's also kind of the gas in our tank and gives us the courage and bravery to like actually get something done instead of just talking about it. So this is kind of a more take action kind of energy under this full moon. Especially because this full moon is directly making a square aspect to the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo. The North and South Node are where we have eclipses. The North Node, like, these are sort of they're kind of considered these sort of like points of destiny. The North Node is sort of like where we're going. It's about like beginnings, or sort of like where we have more of something or an increase of energy. The South Node is where we have a decrease in where we're letting go from. So kind of depending on your own birth chart, like where the North Node is transiting through, it's sort of talking about it's bringing in more of an energy to that part of your chart. For example, the North Node is going through my 5th house. In Pisces, and 5th house is romance, it's love, it's creative projects. The North Node of Pisces is probably like a significant romantic relationship. It's been really nice over the past several months, as well as sort of more passion connected to my creative projects, and there's something being born there. And then also it's been the South Node in Pisces has been going through my 11th house. I've definitely been a little bit more isolated in social settings, and kind of thinking about like, hey, like what are some things as well like from my goals and wishes and hopes for the future that I'm ready to kind of let go of at this point, to sort of. And so like the universe is sort of like more having me focus on my passions. That's just kind of one example of that North and South Node. So the full moon squaring these points, it's kind of giving me a feeling of like something in the universe, maybe kind of pointing to you, like what you need to sort of focus more of, like what you are going to focus more of or do more of, as well as like what you are ready to decrease or let go of in your life, or what you're sort of like ready to kind of get rid of. It's kind of this middle of eclipses destiny point. And when I say middle of eclipses, we had some eclipses in the sign of Virgo and Pisces during this Virgo season during this fall. And so this is the moon is just kind of signaling that we're sort of this halfway kind of point, and also may talk about, like, if you go back to my eclipse videos, it may also be pointing to themes happening during those eclipses, like the next chapter of those things, right? So it just feels like, okay, what am I wanting more of? What am I wanting to go toward? What am I letting go of? It kind of feels like this maybe like crucial decision point, or we might be looking back around this full moon time. We're like, oh yeah, like that was actually pretty significant because I started planning X or Y and starting like letting go of this other thing. And it's not just I have all these ideas, I'm not doing anything with them. It's like I'm actually making long-term plans for the future, because this full moon is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury has just stationed direct in Scorpio a couple days ago. It stationed direct in Scorpio, it looks like around November 29th. So it's just starting to pick up speed. It's just starting to move forward. We've spent the last several weeks kind of like under a review, processing things, going back over things, tackling kind of unfinished projects, looking at things from the past. Or maybe if you have placements like near this 2020, this 22 Scorpio degree in your chart, whether it's 22 Scorpio, 22 Taurus, 22 Aquarius, or 22 Leo, a couple degrees on either side, you really could have felt like, okay, I'm like kind of processing some things in my life. And for me, that was definitely true. My ascendant is 18 degrees of Scorpio. And so Mercury is stationing direct, pretty close to that ascendant and opposite my sun. And I really felt this, like, how do I want to move forward in my life? How do I want to do my life? How do I want to, show up? And now with Mercury direct, I'm kind of naturally seeing solutions to things and seeing kind of the way forward. So Mercury in Scorpio can be a very strategic, focused energy. So where this full moon in Gemini is like busy, it's active, it's like, it's kind of all over the place. That kind of Gemini energy. Scorpio is very tactical. It's very focused. And because Mercury is it's sort of in this grand trine, this grand water trine. It is making a flowing trine aspect to Saturn, the planet of long-term commitments and plans for the future, as well as Jupiter, the planet of expansion, the planet that affirms you. And it's sort of about having faith. And this gives it this sort of overall stabilizing energy that we really wouldn't get just from this full moon in Gemini. So when it comes to making long-term plans for the future, planning your next venture, planning your next, action plan for the future, really seeing kind of months and years down the road, this full moon brings that quality. And it's also kind of saying, it's happening at the end of the calendar year. Obviously, astrology doesn't really go by the calendar year. It's going by, like the movements of the stars and planets and the sun, most importantly. The calendar year is more of a human thing to kind of keep track of time. This really kind of is interesting falling at the end of the year because we're really kind of considering 2026. We're considering kind of what is sort of like what is next to come in our lives and really, again, looking at really long-term strategies for the year to come. Also because this is we are connected to some water energy. Although we have this lively, busy air energy, the ruling planet being in a water sign with Jupiter and Saturn does kind of give it more of, we might be more tuned into our gut feelings. We might be more tuned into just to our emotions and to, different kind of messages that the universe is sort of trying to kind of like let us know. This might be a good time to like pull a tarot card or like meditate or something that's more connected to your sort of unconscious or subconscious mind and getting those messages as well, because your conscious mind is going to be very busy with that Gemini energy, but this is really like very much like listen to kind of what's in your heart with this full moon. So really, really good for long-term venture strategy and planning for things that are really stable in the future with your commitments, but also because with this trine to Jupiter, it's like there's more of this expansive energy. It's like, okay, like what is our next adventure? What is the thing that's going to really light us up? What's really going to fulfill us? And so I think we'll be getting we will be getting some really nice sort of stabilizing energy from those trines to those two planets with this full moon. So that's what I have really for this forecast. Let's jump into a reading for each of the rising signs. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Aries. Okay, so at this point, you can definitely just jump to your rising sign. I'm going to start with Aries and go through the order of the zodiac. I would listen for your rising sign because that's how astrologers create horoscopes. It's obviously, I don't know the specifics of your birth chart, so I can't get into like the nitty gritty details. That's what booking a private reading is for. Also, if you don't have an accurate birth time and you can't calculate a rising sign, I would listen to your sun or your moon and just go from there. The rising sign is probably going to be a little bit more specific to you, though. So let's go ahead and get started with Aries rising. You just share my screen again. So, all right, Aries. Okay, so Aries rising. This full moon is falling in your third house. So, okay, so this full moon falling in your third house. The third house has to do with, it's very classic kind of Gemini kind of coded energy because third house is literally communications, it's correspondence, it's short trip short trips, travel, things of that nature are going to be culminating or peaking for you around this time. And the third house also relates to kind of your daily rituals and daily routines as well. So it just has a very kind of busy time of like, I'm sending holiday cards, I'm sending emails, I'm catching up with people, I'm like meeting people for drinks. It also can be messages or like revelations that will be kind of coming in for you around this time. It also could be of just events connected to like siblings or cousins or best friends that kind of feel like siblings. There could just be activity connected to them or some kind of like major decision point that they're making as well, because sometimes astrology is not about us, it's about the people around us. Um, so, and then also the ruling planet being Mercury in Scorpio. Um, this can definitely kind of highlight the part of your chart that has to do with your finances. So if you're considering like refinancing things connected to or consolidating or like loans and debts and credit or inheritances, um, money that's connected to other people, this is like a time where maybe you're moving forward connecting to that sort of stuff as well. The eighth house can also be psychological. So you could be kind of getting clarity on like deeper feelings and traumas um and like it's like you could just sort of be processing or like letting go of like old emotions that have sort of been stuck, or getting clarity on sort of what those mean, because that water trine that I was talking about is happening in kind of these hidden, more private places in your chart. So like there's a lot of busyness on the surface, but maybe some emotional processing sort of happening underneath. And also on a very mundane level, it's kind of giving financial planning or financial strategy, essentially, is sort of what that is feeling like. Taurus rising, the full moon in Gemini is in your money sector. So it could be that there's some like maybe decision or a lot of busyness happening in the financial part of your chart. It could be simple as like, I'm shopping, bitches be shopping. It's a holiday season. It could be about some culmination or decision point connected to a source of income. Maybe you're bringing in another source of income, or maybe you're ready to end some kind of job or income stream and begin another one. It also could be that you're like ready to monetize some sort of skill or something that you've been developing, or it's like your mind is just going to be maybe on your money and resources a little bit more during this full moon in Gemini. Um, I would say this can be helpful. You do have Venus and Sagittarius moving through that sign for the next few weeks in your eighth house of other people's money. So that can be helpful for you drawing in income if you need it, because I do feel like you're going to be spending, because we also have Mars in that part of your chart as well. This full moon is ruled though by Mercury in Scorpio, and that is falling in your seventh house. So there's maybe some extra emphasis, or you getting decisions, or like you having clarity on moving forward in your one-on-one partnerships and relationships. So that's either marriage partners, romantic partners, or also business partners. I've seen the seventh house also connected to job and career as well, because it's sort of like who you're partnering with on a business level. But there's some sort of clarity that you're getting, I think, in your relationships as well, because Mercury is making a trine to Saturn in your 11th house of like broader networks, and also your third house of local community. So there's something with relationships and partnerships that you're getting more clarity on, like who's actually helpful for helping to like what is actually like sustaining and nourishing you and your intimate partnerships and your broader friends and networks, as well as your local community. There's that happening for you as well, and getting some more clarity on those things. Gemini, the full moon is in your sign. So this is the full moon every year that is about like completing something, something culminating or something peaking. There's something, maybe you're having kind of revelations about you, your personal identity. Maybe there's like some sort of chapter that is beginning or ending for you around this time. But you do kind of just like the spotlight is definitely on you this full moon. It may not be that dramatic. It also just may be that you're busy. Like I'm running around, I'm seeing people. But I do think that there's maybe something a little deeper here, just because the full moon in Gemini is squared that north and south node. This could be something to do with like what you're ready to sort of embrace as far as like the next step in your career, or how like the world sees you, or something connected to professional like reputation. What may be letting go of, or what may be changing connected to home and family for you as well. This full moon is ruled by that Mercury in Scorpio that's newly direct in your sixth house of work, health, anything to have to do with sort of physical body health, work and health routines, as well as pets as well. Pets meaning, dogs, cats, like household sort of animals. So Mercury going direct here, there's going to be clarity, or you moving forward connected to a job, a gig with your something connected to your work life. So this might be time where you're like ready to sort of make some decision as far as like maybe you're wanting to apply for a new job or change your job. This would be a time when I would be like, yeah, like I would definitely move forward with that. Or maybe you get some sort of clarity on a health issue or health thing, or like, some sort of exercise program or health regimen or something, or just simply how to proceed with the parts of life that are very crucial and very necessary, but may not always be the most fun. That's kind of how I define sixth house as like health and work type stuff. I definitely could see something as like clarity on a work situation or career, because this grand trine is connected to Saturn in your 10th house of career, as well as Jupiter, the planet of expansion, in your second house of money. So it's like how you go about your daily work routines, or how you go about your daily grind. And it's sort of about like sustaining you for the future, like some sort of plan for the future in connection to those things. So it's you maybe having some revelations or some clarity connected to those areas is really kind of what I'm seeing for you. The seventh house of your chart, and also how you relate to people and your one-on-one relationships, that's really active too. And I think that'll be pretty obvious under this full moon. But I would really be paying attention to work and health routines for you as well. Cancer, Cancer rising, this might be more of a private full moon for you, where there's like private revelations, or these messages from the universe happening for you more in like isolation, or you having like a little private time is sort of what I'm seeing for you. The full moon in Gemini happens in your 12th house. The 12th house is a more hidden part of your chart. This has, like the 12th house is like, it's a place of endings in our chart. It also has to do with like subconscious mind, mental health, private spaces where we have alone time. It's just you in the 12th house. The 12th house also can be like stuff that we need to release, like outdated like programs and energies that are kind of stuck, that sort of need to go away. I kind of look at 12th house that way too. So it could, and so since like the full moon is, bright, it's a bright light illuminating energy. It's maybe illuminating something that you didn't see before, some kind of thought pattern, maybe something that you're ready to let go of or release, or perhaps that you have like revelations and insights that come to you in private time and a little meditation. This might be a really good time to journal, to do some automatic writing, to be connecting, with your tarot cards, or asking your guides for help, or just, like I can sort of see like this might be a time to, light a candle or put out an offering for your ancestors and ask them for advice as well. But it's like information revelation that comes through having some alone and private time, or will spotlight something that was previously hidden to you that is sort of being exposed at this time, some kind of revelation. This full moon is ruled by Mercury and Scorpio in your 5th house. So it could be clarity, forward direction, forward momentum on a romance situation, on some kind of romantic entanglement with someone else, It's sort of maybe moving forward on creative projects or things that you are creating on, maybe hobbies and passions that you've been kind of reconsidering or feeling a little stuck on. It's clarity and forward direction on things connected to children, as well as pregnancy as well. So, and this is in a trine with Jupiter, that planet of expansion, wisdom, and faith, in your first house, of self and identity. And it's also making this trine to Saturn, that planet of long-term commitment, in your ninth house. So you might be considering, like, what am I creating kind of going forward? Like, what do I want to create in my life? What passions, like, what do I want to create? Because fifth house, I see as like you're creating children, obviously from pregnancy, but your hobbies and passions and kind of how you fulfill your heart's desire. And I just see this as a more kind of spiritual kind of alignment for you. You could also be, this is connected to your belief system and sort of like what you're wanting to commit to as far as your ideals. And Jupiter's retrograde in your first house, so there is a little bit of like some kind of review process. I believe that's until mid-March. Jupiter is retrograde in your first house, so there is this expansive kind of stabilizing energy, but at the same time, it's like I'm ready to move forward in one area of my life, and I also may be considering, like, with Jupiter retrograde in your first, it's like, how do I kind of you might be thinking about how you're kind of scaling back or reviewing life changes so far. But in general, revelations, insights that come through private time, as well as clarity clarity and direction around children, pregnancy, heart's desires, and passions. Okay, moving forward. Full moon in your 11th house. Your social life feels pretty busy, I'm going to say. The 11th house has to do with your broader networks and relationships, friends, colleagues, your bigger sort of networks that you are connected to, social groups. So there could be some kind of culmination, some kind of peak, perhaps an ending, connected to this full moon. It also could be very connected to like what your goals are kind of moving forward, because the 11th house is your wishes and hopes for the future. And so it could be that, like, hey, I've like achieved a goal, or hey, I'm really kind of paying attention to, like, do those goals fit me anymore? It also, there's something with your, maybe with your financial life emphasized here as well, because these nodes are moving through your second and eighth house of your finances. So there could be some thinking about, like, where's my money going? Where's my spending? How am I earning? Am I limiting myself with my earning potential? Something like that can kind of be flowing in with this full moon as well. The full moon is ruled by that Mercury in Scorpio that is direct in your fourth house of family. So maybe there was something that you were reviewing, having to go back to process concerning family and home, real estate, property, anything connected to sort of ancestors and roots. You may be, getting clarity. Like you may be feeling like, okay, it's time to move forward connecting to that. So it might be like, I'm like ready to list my house. I'm ready to look at moving. I'm ready to move forward in like a family situation. There could be something deeper as far as your family sort of emotional dynamics as well. Or just something simply connected to your private emotional life that you're feeling more clarity on, that you have more insight on. This would be a good time to sort of journal as well with that full moon in Gemini. Because this Mercury is in this grand trine with Saturn in the 8th house and Jupiter in the 12th. These are more kind of private parts of your life. So there's maybe more private emotional insights that you're gaining here, and it definitely feels connected to home and family matters. Virgo rising, the full moon in Gemini is very public for you, as it's happening in your 10th house of career, your professional goals and ambitions, your public reputation, and how the world sees you, essentially. So this could be that you're, feeling some sort of culmination or some sort of peak connected to career. It could be that you're like ready to finally let something go, or there's some kind of ending connected to that. It could be that there's, like a change or like a promotion or something like in the workplace that's changing for you. It could just be a busy time. It could just be a busy time, a lot of activity connected to your workplace, connected to your career. Perhaps there's like a change connected to an authority figure or a boss or someone that you're working with. We could definitely kind of bring that in. But also, like, this full moon is interesting for you because it is square the north and south node, which is in your sign. You have the south node in Virgo in your sign, and that is really a time period of like letting go and releasing what doesn't serve you, essentially, like this kind of longer period, and also just really kind of big changes in your identity. You know, in how you perceive the world and the world perceives you, and also changes in your relationships, because we've had eclipses in that pair of signs since 2024. So this is sort of highlighting maybe what changes have occurred during those eclipse seasons, especially this September we had eclipses, and I think it was this February, March we had eclipses in Virgo and Pisces as well. So it's highlighting those changes that have already taken place, and it's sort of symbolizing like this is the next step forward. Um, the full moon is ruled by Mercury in Scorpio, which is your third house. I could see it as sort of getting clarity and direction on sort of what your daily routines are. Clarity and direction, forward momentum on your correspondences, your communications, your daily routines and rituals, your errands, your commute. It could be something to do with your car, how you get around. If there's been something confusing, like relating to siblings or like people in your immediate environment, there's more clarity and more forward direction on those matters as well. And like this, Mercury is in this trine with Saturn, the planet of long-term commitment, and Jupiter, the planet of expansion. And these are all kind of in like relationship houses for you. And so if like just things in your world have been kind of like just a little bit rocked since eclipse season, this feels like, okay, my stabilizing forward momentum, I'm getting clarity and kind of where I'm going next vibe for you, as well as kind of where you and your relationships sort of fit in your life. And I would look specifically at that trine to Jupiter in your 11th house of goals, wishes, and hopes for the future, because that's going to kind of give you some insight and some feeling as to where do I want to focus my energy next? Like, what is the next thing that I really want to bring into my life? Like, what's really going to fulfill me? So that is what I'm seeing for you, Virgo. Libra rising. What's going on? So the full moon is landing in your 9th house of this is things connected to your belief system, to education and spirituality, to your worldview, to travel. It also has to do with like legal things. It also has to do with like publishing or broadcasting, if that has anything to do with you as well. This could be this could be you wanting to learn more about a topic, or maybe you're completing some sort of class or educational course, or some sort of course of education. This could be a time where you are traveling or planning travel. It just kind of feels like I want to learn more about the world. I'm processing and learning about the world right now. Something connected to those sort of 9th house matters that I was just talking about. So it kind of depends on your individual chart where that might land for you. But this could also be connecting with people from a different culture, with just wanting to kind of enrich your life a little bit by learning and being curious about new topics. Or it could be a sort of culmination, like relating to those areas as well. Mercury in Scorpio rules this full moon for you. So there could be something financial, like some kind of financial plan that you're ready to move forward on, that you have more clarity. It could be around your budget, around your spending, around how you're sort of, around your earned income, around finances, something with that, or that you're ready to sort of maybe monetize a skill that you have been developing. This could be really connected to work and career for you, because Mercury is trine Jupiter in that 10th house of career. Jupiter being this planet of expansion, of faith, and in that 10th house of career. You've had Jupiter there since June. Jupiter is retrograde, so you're like reviewing or processing, or maybe like a change in your career with that. But it's also making a trine to Saturn, the planet of long-term commitment, in your 6th house of work and health. So there could be some sort of grand plan for something in the works for like changes with your work and career at this time. Is what I could be seeing here. It also could be to like, yes, there's career stuff, but it's also, we did have Saturn station direct recently in that 6th house. And that could also be like, I'm committing to a health thing, or like I'm working on some kind of regimen and taking care of myself in like a certain way. But so yes, you're curious, you're learning things. There's things connected to spirituality and the divine with this full moon. This is also a good full moon for you to do some divination, tarot, oracle, however you get like a message from the universe. And also I'd pay attention to your dreams with this full moon too, because the moon in the 9th house is associated with like prophecy. So I'd really pay attention to your dreams with this full moon, and also keep an eye on long-term planning for money and career as well. Scorpio rising, the full moon for you is in the 8th house. So your mind is probably on your money right now. There's activity connected to loans, credits, loan, credit, inheritance, money from clients. If you are someone who has clients, or like freelance money. It also could be like an illumination on like things that are more hidden to you, connected to like your emotions, and like maybe even like old traumas and stuff. Like it could be you processing some of that. And I would also say too, by the way, like Venus, the planet of love, beauty, attraction, has moved into your 2nd house of money. This could be a time for you to earn some money as well. I feel like there's action that you're taking around finances because of Mars in this part of your chart as well. But looking past that, Mercury has stationed direct in your sign. So this is a time where you're kind of getting like a life plan together, like how you're moving forward in your life, clarity and direction on your identity, how you move forward, like how you are sort of moving through the world. And, maybe you kind of been ruminating and processing on like, how do I want to move forward in my life? And Mercury direct in your sign connected to this full moon is like, I have the vision's coming in, and I have sort of like a plan to move forward. I feel kind of inspired to move forward. It feels like a lively, busy time for you, and maybe you're making moves connected to finances. But as far as like this long-term commitment to like, how am I moving forward in the world in a way that feels expansive, like it is sort of connected to, because this is trine Jupiter in your 9th house of spirituality, of worldview, of travel, of education. And so this is like not just how do I move forward in the world that makes me the most money, but also how do I move forward like in the world that fills me up, that makes me feel inspired, that is connected to my spirituality somehow. It could be something connected to a teaching endeavor, something connected to travel, something connected to publishing. And this is also trine Saturn in the 5th house. So it could be something stabilizing, long-term, connected to romance, connected to your hobbies and passions, and how maybe hobbies and passions that you've been working on for a couple years at this point, with Saturn being in that part of your chart, because Saturn has been talking about commitments, lessons, planning, not just hopping into bed with everyone, but with like maybe choosing a special someone, or really focusing on a long-term kind of passion project. There's like some renewed clarity in that part of your chart too. So there's something around your passions, long-term direction, and stuff that really kind of fills up your cup that is connected to this full moon. But there's also maybe a financial thing connected to this full moon for you as well. Sagittarius, full moon in your 7th house of relationships. I don't know why I sang that, but whatever. Sagittarius full moon is in the 7th house of relationships and one-on-one partnerships. Something is culminating or peaking here, relating to your relationship dynamics, your one-on-one partnerships. This is not only the partnerships that you are active in right now, but it's also maybe people that you have broken up with, or maybe you're working on like a custody arrangement with someone. This could be that you're reaching some sort of decision point, or you are needing to sort of talk it out in your partnerships. Given that this full moon is a little spicy because it is opposite Mars, the planet of heat, passion, and conflict, maybe you're like feeling like a little feistier at this time. I would lean maybe more into that Venus, which is about relationships and balance and harmony. Because if you're needing to, like this, yes, definitely speak your mind, but also try not to do it in a way where you're just trying to hurt someone is kind of what I'm getting here. Just because relationships just feel very, very highlighted for you. So it could be something culminating, something peaking, or something ending relating to relationships. But your partnerships, your alliances just feel busy right now, and you're working something out with relationships. And this just feels like a bigger full moon for you because it lands in this really kind of angular part of your chart. And like I said, it also could be something connected to the Virgo and Pisces part of your chart, because those parts of your chart we've had eclipses in those parts of your chart. So those endings and beginnings connected to home and family and career, maybe that was happening around this September. There's like a turning point or a new chapter connected to this full moon with those big topics. Lesser, kind of something else to keep in mind. I know I'm talking about a lot of various topics, but this is just a busy full moon, and this is a really active full moon for you, especially. This full moon is ruled by Mercury in Scorpio that's recently gone direct in your 12th house. So I really would kind of make sure that you have some time to get quiet or to have some private time, because the full moon is very busy and we could be tempted to do like a million different things under the full moon. The full moon is the ruler being in Scorpio will kind of help you to be it will help you to be aware of like what's going on in the background of your mind. It's sort of like you may get direction, clarity on, hey, have my motivations been driven by old patterns, old demons, old self-conscious kind of programming, or am I being driven by like my highest impulses? It's sort of like, what is driving me here? Is it my fears is it my fears and my anxieties? Or is it actually sort of what's supposed to be driving me, if that makes sense? Because 12th house is hidden, can be shadow kind of energy. So insights, revelations can come through private time, through meditation time, through a nice long walk outside. This is also, Mercury is making a trine to Jupiter, your ruling planet, in your 8th house of shared money and shared finances. So if you're like working out like a custody arrangement or a relationship entanglement that is connected to finances, there is more of a flowing energy of like, we can come to some sort of agreement relating to finances. For others, it might be about just getting emotional clarity on various parts of your life. This is just a full moon that I think brings a lot of things together. It makes a trine to Saturn, the planet of long-term commitment, in the 4th house of home and family. So a lot going on for you this full moon. There is harmony connected to these very kind of private parts of your life. And I would try to keep your cool during this full moon. I really would try to avoid putting your foot in your mouth. There's, I think, a lot of courage to this full moon. It can really prompt you to take an action where you may have been scared before. And there's some like bravery and courage. And there's a lot happening in relationships. But there's like an emotional, like there's insights. I cannot talk today. There's a lot of insight connected to these sort of private parts of your life. So really, really busy full moon for you. But I invite you to slow down a little bit where you might be tempted to just take like really impulsive actions. Capricorn, this full moon is falling in your 6th house. This is things connected to work, to health, to who you work with, how you work, your physical health regimens, can be insight and revelation to maybe you're having some like a health issue. It can bring information to be like, aha, here's kind of what's happening, or here's what's going on. It also could be a culmination, an ending, or a change in work and health stuff for you as well. It also could be pets too. A sixth house can be like dogs, cats, like household pets. So that part of your chart is gonna be pretty active. It also could just be a really busy time. It's like I have so many fucking emails at work that I'm sending, or a lot of meetings, or but yeah, it just feels like a lively, kind of active, busy time in that part of your life. Mercury is going to be ruling this full moon. It falls in your 11th house of friends, your goals, hopes, wishes for the future, and sort of like your wider sort of social networks. So since Mercury is direct, newly direct in your 11th house, this could actually be like clarity and direction on like your broader plans for the future. The 11th house is your goals, wishes, and hopes. It's generally viewed as more like a more positive place in the horoscope. Or So kind of thinking about like what is kind of like the broader plan for my life? Like what are the things that I want more of? What are the things that I'm hoping to sort of manifest? And also Mercury is making a trine to your seventh house, or to Jupiter in your seventh house. So there's something about how collaboration and partnership may be more helpful for you this year, because Jupiter has been in Cancer since I think June 10th of 2025, and will be in that part of your chart until late June 2026. So like you collaborating or utilizing your wider network or your support system, colleagues, people, your wider community, people, that you share ideals with or things in common with, and you partnering with people could also be something like with this full moon, because there's a grand water trine happening in a relationship parts of your chart, as well as making a trine to Saturn, the planet of long-term commitment, in your third house, which is sort of like your more local community. So I see this full moon for you as like, yes, work and health stuff, but also clarity, forward momentum, direction on um your goals, wishes, and hopes of the future, as well as like clarity and maybe forming relationships or affirming relationships in your wider networks as well. So Aquarius, the full moon for you is in the fifth house. Let me actually look at this really quick. I need to look. Fifth house. Okay. Yeah, full moon's in the fifth house. Revelations, insights, culminations, a peaking, a completion energy connected to your romantic relationships, sexual relationships, things connected to pregnancy and children, as well as your sort of hobbies and passions and things that make you happy. Or are supposed to make you happy. Sometimes the fifth house is, it's like, why isn't this thing making me happy? But yeah, so your mind could be on those matters. It frankly could be that this is like time to have some fun, frankly. That you're, because fifth house can be like this sort of like recreation kind of energy. So it could be that you're going on dates. It could be that like that part of your chart is just really busy and active. Maybe you're paying a lot of attention to your passion projects and your hobbies and like those kinds of things, sort of like buzzy kind of social things. It's opposing the 11th house, which is sort of like wider sort of social connections in relationships. You have Venus going through there as well. There's like a getting together with people kind of vibe. There maybe is a little social friction though with Mars in that part of your chart too. And it could be something that sort of, it's like sparking like your passions connected to these sort of fifth house ventures, but there might be like a little bit of like social friction with Mars there. The ruling planet of this full moon for you is, well, for everyone, is Mercury, and Mercury is in Scorpio, and there could be something about you like clarity, direction, but also strategy connected to career. Connected to your career and professional ambitions, or sort of how like your public reputation, how the world sees you. Um, so like yes, there's like this, what is making us paying attention to hobbies, passions, what's sort of making us happy, this sort of fifth house energy. But low key, I do kind of want you to look at like if you've been wanting a change in work or if you've been needing like some clarity or direction, kind of where you're going in career. Good full moon for that, because you're getting clarity and it's time to move forward connected to career, especially because Mercury is going to be trine Jupiter, planet of expansion, faith, and wisdom, and currently in your sixth house of work, in your sixth house of health and health routines. So if you're looking to sort of change what you're doing for your job or how you do your job or how you work, Jupiter has gone retrograde recently in that part of your chart. So there is like a review process or maybe trying something different. And when you have this 10th house, 6th house connection, it's kind of giving work. And it's also trine Saturn, the planet of long term commitment, in your second house of money. And Saturn is finishing out, and that part of your chart is going to be moving on to your third house. So it is kind of feeling like we could be forming some plan or getting some clarity on a work thing, on a career thing. It also could be health as well with that trying to, or like where I wouldn't say health is like maybe like the main thing, but it does kind of support like, how do I want to move forward in a way, like how do I want to move forward in my career in a way that also supports my physical health and isn't like super draining. So lively, busy, social feeling for you, paying attention to hobbies, passions, maybe just have some fun with this full moon, like indulge yourself a little bit, but also there is a feeling of like I'm getting clarity on where I'm going kind of in my broader career ambitions. Pisces, this full moon for you is happening in your fourth house of home, family, your private life. So this could be signaling like it's like time to get ready for a move, or we're gonna like list a house for sale, or that we're like a parent or a family member, there's some like revelation, or they have like there's something important going on there, or there's some change in their lives, or there's a change in our family dynamics. It could just be that the home is a very busy place for you around this time of like I'm hosting a bunch of people, I'm having people over, we're talking, we're hanging out, like the lively, busy Gemini energy in your fourth house of home and family can literally just be that. I also would say pay attention to dreams, or maybe that dreams are more going to be like more kind of active for you. Because the ninth house is like dreams and prophecy, but I also can see like the fourth house being that too, because it's more of like a subconscious private place. There is maybe like a lot of focus and attention on career for you right now because the sun, the sun, Venus, and Mars are all in your 10th house of career. But this full moon kind of pulls focus to the home and family part of your chart. This might be I'm just going to make a general statement. You have Venus in Sagittarius the next couple weeks in your 10th house. This could be time for you to sort of stand out, to look good in front of the boss, to promote yourself. You might be more motivated and active to be making some career moves, or it might be that work is kind of busy for you right now because Mars is there. This is like, there might be, never mind, I was just babbling. We're going to move on. So, Mercury in Scorpio is the ruling planet this full moon. And so its movements are going to be important. So you're like, there's clarity or direction, forward movement on like your faith, how you view the world, on it could be things connected to higher education, to spirituality, to anything that you are learning. It could be that it's time to move forward on a travel plan, or anything connected to like publishing or broadcasting, or if you're feeling like it's time to sort of like write a book, or like begin some sort of big communications kind of project. That could also be happening too, because Mercury is now direct in Scorpio in your ninth house. So, and it is making this grand trine to Saturn, the planet of long-term commitment in your sign, which is Pisces, and also making a trine to Jupiter, the planet of expansion in your fifth house of hobbies, passions, creative projects, pregnancy, children, and romance. So it's like you're getting kind of clarity and kind of these ninth house things. So publishing, education, spirituality, your general worldview, and kind of like the big picture, why you are doing the things that you are doing in your life, essentially. It also could be travel things as well. And it's sort of like you have Saturn, it's making a trine to Saturn, which is in Pisces for these last few months. in your sign before it moves on to Aries for the next couple years. So it's kind of giving like, yes, there's home and family things, but it's also like, what is the grand plan for my life? What are the things that are going to make me happy? You could be feeling more creative over the past couple months too, with Jupiter moving through that part of your sign. But it's like, I just kind of want you to flow with this full moon, because there's something happening in the sort of spiritual kind of undercurrents of your life, is sort of what it is sort of giving me. I don't really have great words for it because my mind is like mush today, but just pay attention to those kind of general concepts. And also, this is a good full moon to sort of ask your ancestors for help, to give an offering to your ancestors, to put out some coffee and like a little breakfast for them every morning, and to start developing a relationship, because that full moon in your fourth house is also talking about your ancestors and your roots. So that's what I have for you, Pisces. That is the end of this episode. So wishing everyone safe holiday travel plans, if that's what we're doing. Hope everyone has like a really nice holiday season, and pay attention to this channel and my social media stuff, because I will have classes coming out soon, as well as a community that I'm going to be launching as well. So I'm excited for that. I'm going into my teaching era. So, see you soon. Let's get those 2026 readings in. If you're thinking about booking with me, now would be a good time to do so before that discount goes away by the end of the month. And I will see you all very soon.